Sir, I have shared you the 2-3 lines, sir.
Yeah.
So you're live.
Yeah.
You're live, Dipu.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to have the second session of Instagram Live with a very special friend, Ujjwal Mathur, VP and Country Head India Business from TCS. As we all know, technology is reshaping almost every aspect of human life, and with the changing customer behavior, it has changed the way of operating in every sector of the economy, and the insurance industry is no exception. With the technological changes that insurers have introduced since the last decade, it's on the cusp of a significant technological transformation. With Indian banking and financial sector set to make record highs, and insurance becoming a mouth-watering $280 billion industry, technology has a vital role in establishing this phenomenal, unprecedented growth. And we've seen various buzzwords, but I think the good thing about our firm is, we have managed to convert them into reality. Be it AI, be it ML, be it IoT, be it blockchain, be it drones. So very happy to, get into a conversation with Ujjwal. And let me just take the pleasure of adding Ujjwal, and then introducing him. Hi, Ujjwal. Good afternoon.
Hey, very good day, Dipu. Very nice to talk to you.
Yeah, same here, Ujjwal. And thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I think it's great for our participants to, hear from a distinguished, guests like you. I think, TCS or you need no introduction. So very happy that, you're on our show today.
No, it is my pleasure as well as privilege to be here, Dipu. And our association has been so long that it is always a pleasure to be there.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Ujjwal. And how was life, in Mumbai? I guess everybody is working from home in TCS because of the lockdown.
Yeah, most of us are working from home. And the good thing is, in spite of the lockdown, we have managed to run the essential services that are required for the country and beyond. So I think it's a new beginning, as we call it. And I think all of us are getting used to it. And I'm sure it is the same thing with you guys.
Absolutely, Ujjwal. I think happy to let you know, that our digital capabilities really came to the fore, during this lockdown. We were able to migrate, customers overnight, to digital servicing. Nothing, remained affected in a bad way. And we've received lots of, appreciation from our customers, from our partners, and even from, our colleagues across various departments. And, we hope to continue the good work, even during the unlock phase.
So that is the biggest gift that humankind has. When all the BCPs fail, they manage to find something different to continue with the work that they want to do. I think it's a great learning. I think it's a great learning for all of us globally.
You are absolutely right, Ujjwal. In fact, I think the human spirit, I think has, always, shown that no matter what, trouble mankind faces, man will always be resilient. I think, that's the foundation of everything, man has been able to achieve, over a long period of time, over the millions of years that, humankind has been in existence.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that together we'll fight this battle and we'll come victorious, Dipu.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have an audience which is very eagerly, waiting for our, questions. Yesterday itself, we saw a lot of interest on social media. And I can see right now, a lot of people have joined the session and were waving. So on that note, with your kind permission, can I get into asking you a few questions?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a discussion, I would say. And I would be more. We have been having, Dipu, discussions in a room. And I think
right.
Way of a new beginning. And look forward to it, Dipu.
Yeah, thank you, Ujjwal. So, Ujjwal, my first question, and we'll obviously focus on insurance, since that's, the domain where, we are market leaders. When it comes to insurance, as it is in most industries, right? Customer service is the moment of truth, right? And while technology is important, and we all know that, right? But human touch, still has a large influence, in this entire area, right? And at Bajaj, for example, like I told you, we have gone ahead and, we have made customer care much more effective, by leveraging technology at various parts of the value chain. And more importantly, we have leveraged technology without losing our human touch, because I think that's extremely important, when it comes to our customers, right? So do you have any examples, which you could share with our, distinguished audience?
So to that, what I'll say, Dipu, is insurance industry is an industry that needs technology coupled with human touch. The industry as a whole has moved to leverage technology as a facilitator for enhanced customer experience. Whether it is sales or it is customized products, or it is simplifying the customer journey, or automating the claim settlement, APIfication, you can name it, and the industry has either worked or is working on it. The idea is to use technology to ease the process, but I feel it has to be very humane too. One critical aspect is, there are times when, customers are frustrated, angry, and they give a call. So if it's only a machine that is responding, I mean, they're bound to have ramifications. But if there's a human touch to it, then it gives a different perspective altogether. So one critical aspect is the people who are handling this need to ensure that the customer insights and data are readily available during the conversation. I think that is something that a data-driven organization needs to do. And I'm seeing that in Bajaj, where though you are technically or technologically advancing yourself at full speed, but you have also leveraged the enhanced CRM features and layered them with human touch wherever possible. So that's a huge advantage that you guys have created. You have still placed managers at hospitals for patient supports and convenience, which means a lot for the customer who's coming into the system. And at the same time, you're not compromised on your technology because you have moved to a more agile technological architecture to provide better service. So the idea is that branch office or agents should be adequately enabled through IT system, whether it's portal, whether it's apps, etc., to assist policyholders to register claims and whatever they want to do. A great level of trust is built, in my opinion, when the agent helps the policyholders to obtain, say, for example, approval on claims, especially health. That human touch is there, where you can talk, you can discuss, and you can make it happen. So in my opinion, I think you guys are doing a great job. I think your direction, because we have been associated for so long, so I know your company quite well. Directionally, I think you guys are on the right track. And coupling technology with the human touch is what is the need of the hour. Because a pure machine delivery will always have issues. It might work 70-80% of the time. But those 10-15% of the time, you will need that human touch. So a coupling of both is what I see extremely critical, Dipu. A business like yours to succeed and give customer experience the customer expects out of you.
Thanks so much, Ujjwal. On the one hand, thank you so much for your kind words, regarding what we have done. And also, I think, for the audience who's listening to you very eagerly, I think it was just a continuous, stream of, pearls of wisdom, from someone like you, who's so experienced and, who has seen it across multiple industries and multiple firms. I'll just pick, cue from, a couple of points that you made, and then talk about, maybe what we have done, at Magic. I think you spoke about trust, right? And you're right. Insurance itself, for example, is a matter of trust, right? That's the whole premise on which the industry is based. And the other point which you spoke about, is the fact that the customer could be very frustrated, could be very irritated, and he doesn't want just a machine respond to him in a mechanical way, right? He basically would want human touch. So that's something which we have really focused on, Ujjwal, because what we feel, is it's always going to be a good combination of man and machine. The machine can automate the processing, but you see core human skills like empathy, creativity, these can never be automated, which is why, human beings will always, coexist with machines. In fact, some of my customer service managers, they basically joke, and they say that, I lead a team of 10 people, 3 human beings and 7 bots. So I guess, that's the future. So you're right, as we automate, basic servicing, right? but the human element, will continue to be there. Empathy, creativity, being there for the customer, when he, needs us most. And that actually, came to the fore, during the pandemic. Like I told you, while 80% of our customers, moved towards digital servicing, on the balance 20%, even as call centers were shut, we did something very small but very creative. We basically converted inbound into a missed call plus outbound, and that's how, we kept the human touch going. And our grievances came down by 90%. I guess there is no bigger, proof of this, to the point again you made on data, in terms of, how relevant, our man-machine combo was, during the pandemic.
No, absolutely.
I'll now go to sorry, please carry on.
So if you look at an instance where somebody calls and says that thank you for the claim and the patient is dead, then a machine will respond, okay, thanks for your appreciation or something like that. And that is very critical, when you deal with a human being.
Absolutely. Well, you could not have picked a more appropriate example. You need to understand, be sensitive, in terms of what the customer is actually saying and in what context, right? Yeah. I'll now go to the next question. Essentially, I'll just leverage a joke, which has been doing the rounds on WhatsApp, right? And I'm sure you must have heard this, that who's been the catalyst for digitization? Is it the CEO? Is it the relevant CXO? Or is it COVID-19? And obviously, this is a question where there are no prizes for guessing the right answer, right? Having said that, digitizing at scale, obviously can't be done, overnight. And I think one good thing about Bajaj is, that we have been preparing it, for it for months. I think we kind of foresaw the scenario that everybody would be working from home, and went about it very meticulously. So from that context, from your experience, right? Can you share some basics, some basic tenets, which are essential for organizations, right, to get going on this front?
So in my opinion, Dipu, it is not a digitization of a process or digitization of a company. It is building a purpose-driven, resilient, adaptable organization. And at TCS, we strongly believe in a concept that we have framed called Business 4.0, where an organization is based on 4 business behaviors that help them monetize digital technologies.
Okay.
The behaviors are, they would like to create an exponential value for their customers.
Okay.
Driving mass personalization. Because anything you do, it has to be done in such a way that it can be mass personalized. Leveraging ecosystems, because today there's no lone hero or the lone ranger here. It has to be a combination of people, enterprises, companies that have to develop. So leveraging ecosystems is very critical. And last but not the least is embracing risk. The company should have an appetite to embrace risk. Something will succeed, something might not. But the ability to take risk is of paramount importance. So these are the 4 behavioral parameters, if I may, that form a part of our basic Business 4.0 framework. Now, to make this happen, we have also identified 4 technology pillars that can be useful. So the whole thing has to be agile. In today's world, agility is of paramount importance. There has to be automation. And machine first is something that we are pushing for, where obviously the machine should have the first right of refusal. And then it goes beyond the machine, like we discussed, going to a human. So machine first is the second technological pillar that we think. The third thing is it should be intelligent. It should be driven by data science. It should have cognitive capabilities. It should be things like NLP based to enable machines to act autonomously. So that is the third technology pillar that comes into mind. And the fourth, which I think you guys have adopted very well, is the cloud, and which enables you to share a pool of IT resources, any kind of resources. And even though in the situation that we are in, I would still say that it is still the age of abundance. Okay, so somewhere in the world you'll find So there's an abundance of talent. It is how you find it. So there's still an abundance of talent. There's still capital. Okay, a lot of people might debate, but in my opinion, personal opinion, there is capital because innovation is a premium, and people are still funding innovation. Startups are being funded wherever they see innovation, it is being funded. So that is the second aspect that we see is there in abundance. And the third thing is capabilities. Capabilities both in-house, outside, capability to think, capability to implement. So these are some of the parameters based on which the whole concept of business 4.0 enabled organization works. And I see a lot of factors in Bajaj when we discuss this. Okay. So it is most important to get into customers' shoes and think and dream their expectations and experiences. Dream their moments of truth. And then work backward to redesign the processes. Some of the essentials for an organization to go digital starts with culture, which includes people alignment, the new digital way of working, adaptation in the daily digital life. And the process is supposed to be driven top down by the leadership, who has the courage to embrace risk. And which is something that I see in your organization because we have been working last 10 years. The ability to embrace risk, look at innovation, creating methods and processes for innovating on a regular across the group I'm talking about. Going jointly and trying to figure out fintechs or insurtechs where we can work together. So these are the models that a lot of companies are adopting, and I think, and the biggest thing is there's no end to it. There's always work in progress, and it's a journey, and you have to keep on going through the journey. The realization that the current set of processes will not help leverage the maximum benefits of digital adoption has to be there. Therefore, reengineering of process flow, automation, reengineering of HR mindset, and constantly improvising, thus taking the organization to the next level is what I would say leads to a business 4.0 organization. And it's a part of digital enabling where you leverage ecosystems. So that's what I would say, Dipu, if that answers the question.
Fantastic, Ujjwal. I was listening with rapt attention. That was a real perfect answer. And as you were speaking, some thoughts struck me. Right, one point that you made, about ecosystems. I think that's bang on target. I read a very nice term, recently. It basically said from conglomerates to ecosystems. Right, because earlier, even when you had a conglomerate, you're doing everything on your own. But now when you move to an ecosystem, right, you're basically saying, we are independent even as we are, interdependent. So I think that's one thing. Secondly, to the point that you made on embracing the ability to embrace risk, right? It was very heartening to, see the reaction of the entire nation, when Chandrayaan failed. For the first time, you saw a massive outpouring of appreciation, without the usual criticism, right? I think it was a moment of truth, for our mindset, in terms of, how we said we'll embrace risk, right? You can't take moonshots. And it was here literally and figuratively a moonshot. If you succeed, well and good. If you don't, just try again. Thirdly, the point that you made on mass personalization, right? There's a very interesting term. Now, we all grew up, reading about economies of scale, right? Economies of scale are essentially around the fact that as you scale up production, the unit cost falls. But today they say it's not about economies of scale, but economies of scope, which means even as you scale up, you personalize. You get into a segmentation of one, literally, even as you scale up. So I could just, think of those, aspects, as you spoke, so wonderful. And I'll pick a cue from, from what you said, to actually go to my next question, which is why I did not, cover it in this question, right? Now, that at Bajaj, especially on the partnership that we have with you on our core transformation front, we were among the first, to go onto the cloud, right? Now, a lot of people, wonder, what is cloud, right? Essentially, I remember, somebody colorfully saying, that, matlab, hawa mein hai, right? I mean, very colorfully you put it, right? So for the sake of our audience, is there a way you can explain what does cloud mean, and what are its benefits, to a company?
See, I think, like I mentioned in my previous discussion also, or rather previous point of discussion also, that cloud is slowly becoming a part of life. Okay, it's only a matter of time when we'll have the entire world on the cloud. So going to the cloud forms a core part of Business 4.0 framework, and we are heavily recommending it as a company. And the advantage is it helps you harness the abundance available within the cloud infrastructure of your company, as well as the global cloud infrastructure through various forms of interfaces. You can always integrate. You have something on your cloud, somebody else has something will be available on a public cloud, private cloud. So there are ways of integrating and creating a complete ecosystem. The on-demand, flexible, and scalable computing capabilities are some things that allow enterprises anytime, anywhere access and support global and mobile operations. I think that is critical. Badge, as I can see, the Bajic movement to cloud was essential to extract the maximum benefits of the new technology architecture that was planned. To stay ahead, you guys decided to move to the cloud, and rightly so. As cloud becomes the base for one application, it also becomes a base for all the new apps that will be built, the solutions that will come in, the platforms that will come in, and become an inherent part of the digital transformation that Bajic has embarked on. As a very simple example, in today's world, going through a complete digital transformation without a cloud base, I believe it is same as putting a high-powered supercar engine on a chassis of a hatchback.
Good example.
And the results will be there. And I'm not saying that it cannot be successful, but when you have something available, which is on demand, which is flexible, so why not use provide it? Obviously, you have to ensure that the security systems are in place. That is extremely critical for any business, security and privacy. If those are available, then leveraging the complete ecosystem becomes very easy when it is on a cloud. So using this infrastructure, it helps leverage the latest technology components. It also, I believe, reduces the capex and the elasticity of infra real estate without being locked up with a single OEM. You can have the best of all. So in my perspective, that's how I see cloud. And we are seeing a lot of people, a lot of enterprises moving to cloud. I think as the cloud infrastructure keeps on getting better, the movement will be more and more. And maybe one day, who knows, it might be a cloud world.
Actually, Ujjwal, you're right. I was just imagining, when you said, a cloud world, right? As aeroplanes fly, they actually see hardware, software, and various computing assets, when you look out of the windows, right? I was just imagining that. For the benefit of our viewers, I think it was a bold step for Bajic. We were among the largest, private insurers, the largest insurers, the largest in the PNC space, to basically move to the cloud. And cloud gives you multiple, benefits. And I'll just pick two, for the benefit of our viewers. One, obviously, you can prevent obsolescence of your hardware, right? Because it's all, out there. The other is, for example, when we had, siloed data marts, right? It helped us move to a data lake as well. So I think, we've had multiple, benefits, coming through. I'll now, go on to my next question, Ujjwal, which is a typical question which a lot of, CFOs, ask in a lot of organizations. Good to do digitization, but obviously, it requires, investment, and, a lot of, small and medium businesses cannot afford this, right? So do you have any suggestions, given our landscape, in terms of how various players can embark on this path, without it being, investment heavy.
So, in my opinion, there are various models that are now coming up and have been in the industry, which SMBs can look at. There are new pricing models that are emerging, which are consumption-based or pay-per-use models, which you can subscribe to. So digitization doesn't actually mean a huge spend on capex. It can very well be done on a pay-as-you-go model today. There are various options available, and it is obviously very essential that before starting a transformation roadmap, it is critical to have a strong, robust cost-benefit analysis done, feasibility study done in advance. And like I said, organizations have to really think through. It is not just fashionable to go digital because of peer pressure. The cost-benefit analysis has to be very thorough when you embark on such a transformation journey, growth and transformation journey. So I can talk about a couple of options that TCS had built in the past.
Sure.
Like we have a platform called ION, ION or ION as we call it, which SMBs, it's an end-to-end solution for SMBs, which SMBs can leverage if they want to embark on their digital journey. And it is available. You pay as you use, etc. One of the biggest things that we have done in the company is, and specifically in the banking space, we have a platform which is a joint venture between TCS and State Bank of India, which has got about 170 banks on a and when I say 170 plus, you can imagine the number of branches that would come in. So all I would say is, in today's world, you don't have to go by a copybook suggestion. You can always think through, and there are n number of options available, and I think SMBs can utilize any of those options going forward.
Thank you, Ujjwal. And as you speak, two thoughts, strike me. One is, if you look at, the largest tech companies in the world, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Facebook, look at any number of companies, right? One thing common is they all began in a garage. So which basically shows you don't have to, start such a huge company, with huge investments, right? You start small and then you scale up at, low cost. The other is, especially in the Indian context, right? We all are known for Jugaad, right? Now, Jugaad may have, various ramifications, in people's minds, but essentially it means that necessity is the mother of invention. And I think our audience members would be very happy to know that Jugaad is taught in Harvard Business Review. It is taught as, a way of innovating without having to, invest, in a lot of, complex tools and costs, right? So I guess, India, shows the way, right? In terms of, how to do it. So I think the tools are out there. It's basically our willingness to, try those tools rather than follow the, tried and tested path of, going through the typical, heavy investment projects. So I guess everybody, can partake of digitization. I think that's the essential message, which we are conveying.
And with the cloud usage going up, it's going to become more and more easy for such platforms,
right,
which will enable the SMBs to get what they want at a
correct
cost. So
right.
I think another reason why the world is going cloud.
Right, absolutely, Ujjwal. Yeah, it's good to see how various parts of the entire journey are linked. I'll now come to the next interesting, which I think is a very interesting one for our viewers, right? Because a lot of people typically want to predict the future, right? While we all go to astrologers, we all tend to become astrologers ourselves, right? So, Ujjwal, having seen various projects and various industries, right? As per you, what are the new trends in tech, in the operations and customer service arena, in the coming few, months and weeks?
So it is very difficult to say what will emerge. Okay, because I think
Right.
the world always has a surprise for us, and it is very difficult. But in my opinion, the technologies that will come up, and there are various areas where they'll come up, but some of the areas that I could think through for this conversation, though we already have some technologies, but it will only get better, would be in the areas, I think, of image recognition, more in the
Right.
voice, handling spam, security related, fraud based. So these are some of the areas where I think the technology will emerge, and there'll be many more, many more. So it is very difficult to, mention all of those, but these would be some of the key areas. And the model for developing these technologies will be through hybrid financial services ecosystem, which will be through collaborating with fintechs and insurtechs. And the areas that I feel that these will cover, and specifically for enterprises like yours, would be covering the new customer segments, or creating new business models, or new and changing regulations, I think, which you have to deal with on a regular basis. How do you create new offerings? How do you create offerings and create them very fast? With the sources of data and services changing, and more sources coming in, you'll always have to be on the run as to how do you start getting data from the new sources of data, and servicing them. How do you use data? So technologies in these areas will definitely be evolving. And what I see is, it will be, as we call it, boundaryless insurance services, or boundaryless BFSI services, where it will blurry the boundaries between industries and changing customer behavior, and still utilizing agile, cloud, and automation. So these are some of the areas where I see technology will come in, and customers, I think, will move towards a higher propensity of new engagement channels, and and they would want to be demonstrated increased demand for customized insurance requirements. So probably you might have to customize insurance for every single individual, okay, instead, and build a product for an individual rather than building a general, which I'm sure I know that you guys are working in that direction. On the and also we'll see a much faster pace of innovation with market first products, service models, collaborative models, simplified policy insurance process, a straight through process, and obviously better adoption of artificial intelligence or machine learning, automation, etc. So these are some of the areas that I feel will eventually grow.
Thank you, Ujjwal. And to my mind, there are two areas, where we'll see immediate, trends, or solutions coming in. One is, you see, today it's all contactless in terms of sales, right? Typically, insurance used to be a business, where people would go and meet people. Today, you have to learn to sell, remotely. So I guess contactless sales, is one thing which a lot of people will have to learn. You have to recalibrate your own mindset and your skill set, to basically master that. The other is from a customer perspective, Ujjwal. What we are seeing increasingly is that people want the user interfaces or the user experience to be touchless, because they become very wary of touch. Even if it's elevator buttons, you don't want to touch. You want to maintain social distancing. So that way, I guess we were amongst the pioneers, in terms of voice. The point that you made, when Alexa and Google Assistant were launched in India, we were amongst the first ones, to integrate with them. So you could just, without, touching the keyboard, just voice your command into the phone, and the order gets executed, all the basic, and essential insurance services. So I think this is something, which is going to be, big going forward. Even today, when customers, visit our branches, they are leveraging QR codes, they are leveraging our app, they are leveraging, WhatsApp, they're leveraging voice, so there is a host of tools that people are using, to get away from touch.
Absolutely.
With that, Ujjwal, please carry on. Please carry on.
Absolutely. What you're saying is absolutely right. And the more we can automate these things, the better it is.
Right. I'll now come to the last question, and I'll also, pick a cue from the last answer that you gave, wherein you spoke about AI, ML, NLP, right? Now, Ujjwal, what happens is to a lot of people, these are buzzwords. They just wonder, what do they really mean? Are they interchangeable? Are they all, specifically different? So essentially, the query is, one, can you help decode this, for the benefit of our audience? And secondly, how essential, are these really, for organizations to succeed? So two questions, if you can answer them, please.
So in my opinion, again, it's my opinion, artificial intelligence is a wider subject that covers machine learning, deep learning, automated speech recognition, NLP, which is natural language processing. What is interesting though is how these and similar interventions are impacting the way organizations are rendering their operations and customer service. That is
right.
Some consider these as buzzwords since they do not understand how to use them. Today we have, in fact, enough and more examples where these have played a game-changing role and redefined the market. Yeah, like you mentioned, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Facebook, etc., where they have completely reimagined the way business was done. The organizations which have understood the importance and benefits of these levers and sponsored their team to adopt these technologies are on the top of the game. Because
right.
It's a data-driven organization. And the more you are able to use data, the more successful you get. Effectively use data, not use data. It has to be effectively used. The usage of these technologies could range from understanding the data, predicting the action outcome, and then proactively providing customer service and easing the customer journey, as well as increasing the net promotion score and upselling, cross-selling. So these technologies will help an organization in many or more of these areas that the organization wants to focus on. I think it is given that organizations that understand AI, ML, NLP process and bring in the right partners to deploy them, deploy the use cases. And when I say partners, it's the ecosystem. With a clear view on the outcomes, will be the organization that reap huge benefits and always will be ahead of others. And whatever I know about Bajaj, I think, and I have continuously been mentioning that you are a data-driven organization. And I have seen you guys constantly evolving the data capabilities using AI, ML, NLP technologies, which according to me is the key ingredient of customer experience and organizational success.
Thank you, Ujjwal, for your kind words again. And, a couple of points, I had, on this entire aspect of decoding these buzzwords, and also that they're essential for any organization. One, you're absolutely right. It all starts with, data. Some of the largest firms in the world today, they do not have a pre-planned strategy. They said, we'll go where the data takes us. If the data points us in this direction, we will go in that direction. And they have been able to, sustain their growth and be, light years ahead of their competitors. So I think you are bang on target on, that front. The second aspect is, when it comes to these buzzwords, I think what I could hear you say is that it is not about fitting the buzzword to a use case. It is the other way around. You basically look at the use case first and then see which technology makes sense. So essentially pick an area where customer friction is the highest and then see, which technology will be the right one to, add value there. For example, I can talk about, one example, of let's say IoT. Now, a lot of players have, basically launched IoT with the idea of telematics, right? Standard concept in play. You move from ensuring the asset to also measuring the behavior of the person who's driving the asset. Otherwise, the insurance is for the asset. Now, in the Indian context, we know that people can afford drivers. So you'll also have, let's say, a couple working. And then we said, that the driver is the one, who's picking up kids from home, dropping them to school and then back. And parents could be anxious because obviously children's, safety is paramount. Now, when you have an IoT device in the car, you can launch geofencing, which means if the car goes off the path, you get to know. Now, that's a real use case, where without technology, you could not have given this feature to customers. And it's a brilliant value add to customers. So I think the idea is pick the area where customer need is paramount, and then choose the right technology. Because then when you do that, it's a win-win for everyone, concerned.
So absolutely, because
So,
that technology is an enabler, but
right.
what we have to do.
Absolutely. So Ujjwal, I think from a pure conversation perspective, it was wonderful, asking you these questions from my side, and getting all the great, insights from you. And I'm sure, that audience also has, derived, great value, from the conversation, because I think with an industry stalwart like TCS, and with, our focus and our standing, I think the partnership is a great win-win, for everyone. I hope the audience has enjoyed the interactions, and if there are any questions anybody wants to ask right now, Ujjwal and I, will happily answer them. I'm just seeing the feed in the Instagram live session, so if any queries come across, we'll happily answer them. I'll just wait for a few seconds more. Okay, I guess looks like all the comments are basically saying great insights, and they're waving at us, which is good, because when when people don't ask questions, it means they've understood everything. So hopefully they've been able to get a better understanding of some of the buzzwords, and they're better off after this conversation. Thank you once again, Ujjwal, and thank you to all our viewers. We could see very encouraging feedback throughout the entire session, and it was very encouraging for both of us, because the live audience feed kept us going, and also it was an indication of the fact that the conversation was going in the right direction, right? So thank you very much, everyone, and Ujjwal, look forward to more such sessions like this going forward.
And thank you, Dipu. It was great talking to you, though in a different format. And everybody on the live chat, I would wish them to stay safe and stay healthy.
Yeah. Thank you, Ujjwal. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Wish you all, safety, and like Ujjwal said, wish you all, safety, and of course, a great week ahead. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks.